Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special edition of Detroit Lions on the Prowl. It's brought to you by the Belly Up Sports Network. And first, I'm going to bring in my main man, the man of Steele himself, for this special broadcast, Curt Steele.
What up, though? Welcome to the show, people. You know who we are. We are Detroit Lions on the Prowl, your home for Detroit Lions news and rumors. And joining us in a little bit with the special guests, Herman Moore and Lomas Brown of Herman and Moore, Breaking Bread with Herman Moore and Lomas Brown. RachelMarieSports will be joining us. But let's get this thing down to the third member of the crew. Who?
Mike Jones. Who? Coach Mike Jones. What's going on, Lion fans?
Let's get this thing started
right now.
Let go.
It's Detroit Lions talk, baby.
We're going to get up, and on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Yes, sir. We in the deep. Hey, welcome back to the show, people. And we have our distinguished guest, the host of Breaking Bread with Herman and Lomas, legendary Lions players, Herman Moore and Lomas Brown. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, now first up, you guys played with a legendary Lions running back, one of the best to ever do it. And you were witness to some of the biggest runs in NFL history by none other than Barry Sanders himself. Does any plays stand out to you that you actually witnessed or were a part of blocking for the great Barry Sanders?
Well, I know for me, it was two plays. It's the one in Chicago where he hurdled about three guys, including Mike Singletary, and took it to the end zone. It was just unbelievable because they had him corralled, and some kind of way the little big fella hurdled them, and he was gone. And then the other iconic play for me was when he did the pirouette against Buffalo on one hand, where he just spent around, and it was only like a 3 or 4 yard gain. But, man, just what he was able to do. And if you think about Buffalo with Bruce Smith and Cornelius Bennett and some of the great players that they had on that defensive side of the ball, they were in wow with what Barry could do. So, and I know Herm might feel this way, but I definitely – the plays that didn't get captured, meaning the plays that you don't see, those were some of the most brilliant plays that we see. So every Monday – when we would be in the film study, it would be like 3 or 4 plays that didn't make the highlight reel that we used to sit back, myself, Kevin Glover, guys like that, and be like, oh, my goodness, how did he do that? So a lot of the plays they caught, but it was a lot of plays that not on the highlight reels that were just unbelievable plays that he made.
Yeah, you know, I have to agree with you. Definitely the Buffalo one was a big one, because to just see how he just reversed ground and the moves that he made there. The one that sticks out to me the most is John Lynch squaring up on him in Tampa Bay on a game. We were away down in Tampa, and he was head up on him, and he didn't even touch him. I mean, Barry ran right at him full speed, gave him a move, and then just basically took it to the house from there, man. That to me was amazing, because he did that to so many people, but that was so polarizing because it was no one else there but him. It was nobody to trip over. There's no obstacles he had to navigate. And but that one, and if I could throw one in there as a number 2B, would be against Dallas when we were playing in the championship game. And I forget who it was he shook. And I mean, he stepped over like myself and 3 other people, shook us all to the ground. I remember laying on the ground. I don't know if I got thrown to the ground or if he shook me out of my shoes too for my blocking. But what a fantastic player. And we used to, as you said before, watch him on the Mondays, or if we played on a Monday night game, Tuesdays. We would sit there as receivers. We always wanted to try and make sure we were part of his highlight. So if you ever see him out there running down the field, try and find us. We're like the little key little piece you got to find in there. We're the little part that pops out the popcorn box. You know, that's all the receivers trying to get that last block.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So let's go to Rachel. Rachel, what was your question for Lomas Brown and Herman Moore?
So my question's about a little bit more recent Lions happenings. What's your honest opinion on the Quinn and Patricia regime? And it's kind of a two-tier question. How do you think it affected Stafford's departure?
So you want the honest opinion, huh?
Yes.
You want me to keep
Honest.
It was
Keep it
terrible.
100 right here.
It was terrible, Rachel. It really was. It from the standpoint of, the chemistry in the locker room. And I look at some of the players. If you think about some of the players that they got rid of during their tenure, you talking about Golden Tate, you talking about Quandre Diggs, Darius Slay. They alienated Snacks Harrison. You talking about players that could be still here today contributing to this 2021 team. It just, it was so much optimism when they hired Coach Patricia and brought in Bob Quinn because, the system that they had been under in New England. So you just think that was going to translate right over to the Lions. And, it was so disappointing that it didn't. And, a lot of times it's a lesson with coaches that you have to be yourself. I don't think you could be someone else. You have to be yourself. And I just think if Coach Patricia would have been more of himself, let more of his character come out than more so trying to be maybe like Coach Belichick or embracing the Patriot ways, I think things might have went better. So, it's unfortunate because you never like to see anyone lose their jobs, but it was evident from me looking from the outside in that things weren't going right and they weren't going to get better.
I can piggyback a little bit off of what you're saying there, Lo, because I agree. I think you have to establish your own way. You have to come in and get a real deep assessment of the type of players that you have. And you have to, at this level, in the NFL, you have to let players be who they are and let them. You got to figure out how do you corral. If you got some that are somewhat problematic or whatever, there's ways to get them to kind of get more in line with the team. But it's all about, do you have the skill set as a leader to be able to manage different types of personalities versus the easy road is just to say, my way or no way. Well, that anyone who's tried that in the NFL, I'll tell you, it falls flat. There is a give and take between coaches and players and front office and administrative people. The other part I will look at is, Lo, you talked about bringing in another system. You can't sit here and go, we got to have key players. You got to have dominant players. Anytime you get Pro Bowl players, those are ones that you don't let go so easily. Yes. You got to figure out ways to keep them. You got to figure out ways to bring them in and say, I need you to be the leader and not the person that's going against the grain here. And too often we just look at the coaches that will get rid of those players and say they're troublemakers. No, it's not. You're just not as good at navigating the waters and being able to manage chaos or manage points of difference. If you can't do that, you can't call yourself an NFL coach, period. But I would hope that things would be a little bit better, but they weren't. And like I said, you named off a lot of players I even forgot that were here. And that's when you can't build consistency in a system when you're going to lose players like that.
Yeah, and just to kind of really add on, Rachel, to what Herman was saying, we weren't afraid of the coaches back in our era. When we came, if I had a bad series on the field, I wasn't afraid of Wayne Fonts or the assistant coaches when I got to the sideline. I was afraid of guys like Herman and Jerry Ball and Chris Spielman, because those are guys that's going to get up in your face and hold you accountable. So it was more so like what Herman's saying, you embrace guys on your team that are leaders on your team because they can help rally the rest of the guys. So it's not the coaching that you fear, man, it's letting down your teammates that you fear more so than anything else.
That is so good. That is so good. Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the player perspective on that. Definitely great to hear, it coming from that side. And I feel you, Lomas. They really hurt my jersey collection. I don't have any current players anymore.
And that's why you got to keep those ones that never go out of style.
Like Herman Barnes, Lomas
like 84,
right?
Like 84 or 20 or 75. I mean, It doesn't matter.
It'll go out of style. All right, Mike, what was your question for Lomas Brown and Herman Moore?
All right, guys. This is a question that from Lion fans, from our perspective, we get a little emotional when we watch the games, as I'm sure you all do, but it just feels like the refs are they don't like the Detroit Lions at all. and I want to know, is it just the fans because we're over emotional, or do y'all feel it too? Like, man, they don't like us.
Man, I say it's a Detroit bias, and don't just stop with the Lions. I think it's the Pistons. I think it's the Tigers. The Red Wing, I think for some reason, I feel, and maybe it's because I live here, but I always felt that it was a bias against Detroit teams. I mean, even with, like you say, with the referees, man, you got to fight the opponents. You got to fight the referees. That's not a fair fight, man. You know what I'm saying? It's all right when you could go up against your opponent, but when you got that external thing like referees making some of the calls that they made against the Lions, go back to Calvin Johnson with the catch and the playoff game with Dallas when they picked up the flag. And man, it's just so many games that even in Seattle, when the guy clearly was out of bounds and the ref looking at him and then make the call, it's just so many things that have gone against the Lions. And like I say, I just think it's a Detroit bias. I don't know what's up with the Motor City, man, but they be hating on us here, man.
They do.
I guess I'm the relative that's going to join this party that no one invited. I'm not going to say it's a bias, because I love the referees when they call the play right. I don't like it when they call plays that are gray or suspect that should lean our way, but it doesn't. And I don't like when they call plays that cost us. All right. That's the way, that's the nature of the fan. That's the nature of the player. When I push off, it's okay. But when the guy holds me, all hell done broke loose. I mean, it's like it's a whole lot of problems. So I'm gonna be fair and honest about it. They're not gonna make every call. Do I think they have it out for the Lions? No, we've gotten our fair share. But I think most teams will be able to make a case like that if we peel back play after play after play and go look at how many penalties are actually missed. It may not be the one that's most polarizing, right? And the one that's sitting there that everyone's got their camera ISO'd on, but there's a hold every play pretty much. There's an illegal something. There's a flag that could be thrown literally on every play. But we put 5 more referees out there on the field. We call 5 times more penalties.
But Herm, you got to admit though, our plays have been polarizing. Think about our play. Think about
absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
They changed the whole rule with that.
Completely agree. I completely agree that the calls that were made against the Lions were awful. They were the worst, but I don't think necessarily have it out for them. I just think they've made some calls that unfortunately cost us in a way that it shouldn't have. Right. And there should have been a way to rectify it. Period.
I believe that the one call that sticks out to me is that Golden Tate no catch call, and when he crossed the line. And then they oh man, that right there.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Talking about the Atlanta game. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Think about these calls. See, look, that stuck out in my mind. I'm telling you, man.
Hey, Lomas, I got a question for Lomas. I got a question for the little big fella, Lomas Brown. Lomas Brown, have you ever held anyone in the NFL and it didn't get called?
Herman Moore. Hey, I told you
said you were going to be honest on the show. Hold on. You said, hey, don't make me get someone to roll back the tape. Did you not say you were going to be honest? Now, I know I pushed off. Yeah. I've already said I push off. I've pushed, I've held, I've probably had legal chops. I've used profanity that was probably a penalty in itself. Out on the field that didn't get thrown. I even got a penalty thrown on me for just tapping the referee because I had a question. If you couldn't raise your hand, I just tapped him on the shoulder like, "Hey, I got a question." And he threw the flag on me, and I got a fine for touching the referee. Wow, that wasn't fair. But Lomas, have you? No. So Lomas Brown, I'm gonna give you a do-over. Have you ever held someone that wasn't called in the NFL more than 10 times? More than 15 times.
Over an 18-year career, yes, I have, Herman Moore. Okay. Yes, I have.
That's like per season, right? At least once a game. times however 22 years, 18 games. I mean, Lomas he's betting almost. He's getting up there to like 1,000. Come on, man. There you go.
Oh, okay.
That's one player.
You make a good point. You really do.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys, and it's like kind of the differences between this regime, the last regime, and then the one that you guys played for. I'm talking about the coaches, the coaching staff, general manager, stuff like that. The feeling is different. I know we had talked about the feeling with Patricia, but the feeling's different here with this. But I'd like you actually to compare it to your days as you were playing compared to today, where with this coaching staff and regime.
Well, I know, and Herman probably agree with this, is that we had it good under Wayne Fonts. We really did. Wayne was a player's coach. Wayne would take care of you, and Wayne, the one thing Wayne would always tell us in the team meetings is that he would never throw anybody under the bus. He's going to go out there in front of the media. He's going to take the bullet for us. Now, once he got you behind closed doors, it was a different story. But out in front of the media, he would never do that. And for us, I think it made us play hard for Wayne, because anytime the media started attacking Wayne and saying, he should be fired or they're not performing at their level, we would always have a team meeting, and we would be in the team meeting like, look, we got it good here with Wayne. We can't mess this up. So we have to get our stuff together. So we would go out and win 4 or 5 games in a row and always get in the playoffs. That's why we always kind of put it together towards the end of the season. But we knew we had a good thing with Wayne. And like I say, he was such a player's coach. And like Herman said, you got to let guys be themselves. And that's the one thing I remember about our locker room. We had a whole bunch of different personalities in that locker room, but Wayne allowed that to happen. And that's what you have to do on this level, especially dealing with, like you say, pro athletes.
You talk about the character of players. Let's talk about the character of coaches. You have a coach in Wayne Fonts that, regardless of what the media did to him, and no matter how bad they talked about him, no matter whether he agreed or believed that he should defend himself when they would come after him in just and unjust ways, he didn't take that out on a player. He brought it back to us behind closed doors the same way he asked us to do it. But now let's fast forward when you get some of these other coaches. I don't coach that kind of stuff, kind of coaches, and that's that player's fault. Or this one over here goes, you know what? I can do better. I've come from better places. I know we're capable of doing more. No, where does the we come in versus them? Then you start to see the division, and no one ever calls that out. So I say this, I look at the character of a coach that's able to sit there and say, you know what, we didn't get it done, or we're going to go back and clean it up. And if you want to attack that coach, the coach doesn't all of a sudden try and deflect and throw another player under the bus or throw a system or a coach or anything like that, or the referees. We just go, you know what, we're in it together. The other part I'll say about Wayne was this. He allowed us to figure out the system and govern from within. People may not agree with that. His limitation was this. He's not out there on the field. He's looking from a different vantage point on whether or not the effort was there by another player. My effort and what I hold Lomas Brown to is totally different than what the coach is. Believe it or not, the coach thinks that they got control over that. No, you know who we're accountable to? We're accountable to one another. We're accountable to that. And we're sitting there going, you know what? I let everyone down, but more importantly, these guys that are out there on the field with me. So that's where we see it started to move away from. And the other thing you said, what was different about that time, we could probably go in and do a handshake for the type of contracts we had, because they weren't $60 million and $80 million guaranteed. So I was like, hey man, you know what? Just do me a solid, man. You know what? Why don't you throw in an extra $500 and maybe a couple of those gift certificates to Best Buy or something like that. I'll call it a day. You know, we didn't have to worry about leaving $3 and $4 million. Like you look at Calvin's situation when he left and they said, okay, we got to pay him back $1 million. They'd be like, hey, Lomas, you know what? I know we shorted you $500. Herman, and we know we shorted you about $200-$350. So you know what? We'll call it all even. You know what I mean? So it's a little different. It's a whole different world these days.
A whole different world. Yeah. The show is Breaking Bread with Lomas Brown and Herman Moore. If you haven't checked it out yet, you need to, and hit that like button. For you guys, let me just tell you, once you get the dislikes going, You've made it. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Just like you made, you doing your job then.
We appreciate you guys being on. Anything you want to say? Final thoughts from Lomas Brown and Herman Moore.
Well, for Lomas Brown, I'm looking forward to this season. And actually, you know, me and Herman played with Dan Campbell. I played 2 years with Dan. Herman played a year with Dan Campbell. So, you know, I'm going to be rooting deep down inside. I'm going to be rooting for Dan to have a great year. He's a great friend of mine. And I just think, you know, what we'll see out on this field this year, I think you're going to see a more competitive team. I think you're going to see a more disciplined team. I think you're going to see a team that finishes games this year. Now, I can't say what their win-loss record is going to be. You know, I can't predict that. But I think you're going to see a better product out there. And like I said, I'm 100% rooting for Dan Campbell and his coaching staff.
I think you're always going to have, coming with a new season, the optimism that things are going to be different, things are going to change. I'm not going to sit back and take too much of a wait and see attitude, but I will take and evaluate it. I'll try and get out to as many practices as possible and try and form my own opinion. I will be in huge continued support of Detroit Lion fans because I know what it feels like to be on this side of the fence. Yes. And I will cheer for those guys that are going out on the field every single day and trying to make things happen and become winners. So I'm always going to cheer for the players, the coaches, and I'm definitely going to be there for the fans. And I don't say that just because we're on the other side, but I understand the pain a little bit differently than we have in the past. So I appreciate everything, and I appreciate even having the opportunity to come out and spend this time with you. Lomas and I, that's what our Breaking Bread show is all about. That's what we're trying to do, is touch base with those that are passionate about the Lions, that are passionate about sports, and want to have that kind of conversation. So we appreciate you allowing us to come out on the show today.
We really appreciate you being here. And to everyone out there, like the video over at Herman Moore and Lomas Brown Breaking Bread. Please check them out. And we really appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you later. Our final thoughts for today is, oh my goodness, what an opportunity to listen to legends and give us some really good stuff too. I mean, the honesty was 100 today, and we keep it 100 on this show all the time, but that was amazing. Really appreciate you guys. Really appreciate Lomas Brown, Herman Moore, and Chrissy, who handles all that and the email stuff. I just wanted to say personally, thank you. And we're so excited to bring this to you, and we'll have them on again.
Yeah, definitely. I was just an honor to speak with two, Lions Ring of Honor legends. Those guys were part of the most integral, basically they were part of the last really winning team, you know what I'm saying, that we were, that were consistent in Detroit. And I really appreciate those guys coming on and giving us some honest assessments of the current team and, what it was like playing back in the day. So shout out to those guys, man, for coming on and spending some time with us.
Yeah, I'm happy, man. I still can't believe it. It's almost like a surreal feeling that, that those guys were on, man, because Herman Moore was like Jerry Rice. Like, he was number 2 to Jerry Rice for about 2 seasons in a row. And it was like, man, like, that guy was talking to me. Lomas Brown, he's like the god of linemen in Detroit, man. So it's like, man, just having those two and having them kick it with us and genuine, you could tell that they were really like genuinely serious about what they were saying. And man, hey, that's what it is, man. It's always cool to kick it with real people. So shout out to them both.
Yeah. All right, people, you know who we are. We are Detroit Lions on the Prowl, your home for Detroit Lions news and rumors. And as always, subscribe to the channel. Join the family. We don't have fans. We don't have viewers. We got family. And it's all love right here on Detroit Lions on the Prowl. And if you haven't done so already, go and get you some gear from Fanatics. The link in the description below will get you some great gear, and a portion of the proceeds from that link go to help us grow the content of this channel. And if you want to see more of us, go over to bellyupsports.com and check us out over there as well. They got a ton of different podcasts. Hockey playoffs are in full bloom, and they are doing it big over there on bellyupsports.com. Plus, they have some great articles by some talented writers. Hey, It was a great and honor pleasure to have Herman Moore and Lomas Brown of Breaking Bread with Herman and Lomas on today's program. And you know what you got to do, baby. Whatever you do in life, you got to boss up, ball out, and be the best version of you that you can be. And check out the Die Hard Den. We recording tonight, baby. This is Curt Steele, and we will holla at you real soon.